Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Roblox reaction. Today we have a scrapped song apparently, and this is Break Free featuring Rob Lundgren, which I actually know who that is. I've heard some of his work in the past, and it's wild that that's scrapped with somebody like that attached. I don't entirely know the whole story here, but I was told by Exotic, the one of my executive producers who requested this, that this song was scrapped due to self-esteem issues and them not thinking it was good enough, and I'll be the judge of that. Thank you very much. I'm fairly well known for not holding my opinions back and giving you a real raw opinion from somebody who just loves music and knows a little bit of music theory and is a musician themselves. So if this song really is trash, I will say so, but if it's good, I'm gonna be mad if it's scrapped and good. So I have to hear this now, and I will be telling you very much my true feelings, Ramon. So with that out there, I'm gonna listen to this, and without further ado, let's go!
Standing alone, standing just out of reach, foot on the brakes, but I need to go on. Day after day as I fall behind,
okay,
keep me away
good
from
progression.
you. No more chains on me.
Okay, fairly strong start. See, like, even a little bit of a fun, yeah, like those rhythmic stings, those are really good. Decent drum placement so far. I like Rob's voice in this too. It actually works really well. Like, it's not Crush 40, but it kind of has that vibe to it. And it's not because it's Sonic. Just the energy of it is a little bit more metal. But I definitely feel that. Okay. The skipped beats are a little bit strange, I'll be honest with you. I don't think they're bad. It is a little bit of an interruption to the groove, but especially more prog metal does that a lot, so. Putting the sound effects in. Such a cheap way to get a smile, but I love it. That's fan service 100%. Nothing wrong with some fan service. Again, like the transitions, the skipped rhythm there is a little bit odd. So far, that's one of the only things I'm noticing that's a little bit suspect, really. Even a sick guitar solo. That's a really good solo. That was a really well done solo. See, like, right there at those transitions, that skipped beat puts you on the upbeat when you were on the downbeat or vice versa. Yeah, not bad at all. I'm kind of bummed that that was scrapped, but I do have opinions as to why I think that it might have been, and where maybe it could have been improved or edited to be able to fix those problems, potentially. So let's get into that. So first things first, the positives. I loved Rob's voice on this. It fits so well. It adds a little bit of extra oomph to the song, and you could have gone for somebody who sounds a little bit more like Crush 40 vocals, that like more pop punky sound, and I'm glad they didn't. I'm really glad that Ramon decided to go for somebody with that like power metal voice like Rob does, because that works so well to add that extra oomph. The whole song is definitely a lot more power metal-y, and I think some of the confusion here in Ramon's brain might have been the little bit of a challenge between like what they may have wanted it to sound like and what it ended up sounding like, and I feel like there are two factors to that could have been addressed. One I kept talking about during the reaction, which is the fact that those odd time changes in between phrases, the verses to chorus, those like transitions were very weird. Like, why skip the beat? Because when I think of Sonic, I think of speed and I think of rhythm, because all of Crush 40's music, basically all of their general music from all of their games, followed the standard 4/4. And when you take that and you throw out a beat of it at random spots, it kind of disrupts that. It makes you go, whoa, wait a minute. I'm no longer running to the beat. It feels like a skip or a trip. So it no longer feels kind of natural when you're thinking of something like Sonic that's supposed to be very consistent. Like, that's the whole IP, right? So I think that might have been a part of it. That was a weird decision for me, because when I want to jam out to something and I want to feel like I'm just living in this powerful moment, having something skip a beat and makes me think about where that beat went for a second disrupts the whole vibe. So that would be my first check against the song, and the only other one is really just the mix. I think the mix was very thin, and that might have just been because it was scrapped and they decided not to focus more on it, but I think it was very top heavy, and by that I mean mostly in the highs and basically no mids and lows, and that kind of ruins the vibe of power metal. It's gotta have power. Where's the power in power metal? This was so thin. It was such a thin mix. There was no beef to this song at all. It was just a lettuce and a crunchy wrap supreme, and there was nothing else in there. It was the saddest Taco Bell taco ever. I'm hungry. But also, that's something that's very easy to add, so I think that might have just been part of the scrapped process, where they were like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not going to put any more work into it, and they threw it out there as is, so there wasn't any extra layers to like beef up the mix or anything, but also maybe not. Like, the stereo width wasn't quite there. It was just kind of thin and set in the middle, and maybe they were just like, I'm done, and this is what it sounds like. And if that's the case, then generally production needs to be thought of a little bit deeper before releasing a song, even as a scrap, because if you're scrapping, it better be scrapped with things yet done. And if one of the reasons you scrapped it was because it sounded too thin, then that is unfortunately a skill issue and needs to be addressed. I'm not sure if that is the case, but it might very well have been, or it could have just been straight up, I didn't get the time to, and I didn't want to continue on with the production. I'm not sure which, so I'm not pointing any fingers on that one, but I do think that for what I heard, the mix needed a lot more rhythm guitar, a lot more beef in the bass and the kicks. You need power in power metal. It is really as simple as that. If you don't have the low end to act as a solid base for everything else to sit on top of, then it's not going to have the power that makes up that genre. And you might have the greatest vocalist ever, like Rob, brilliant vocalist. At the same time, a lot of his voice was just sitting there on the top, doing nothing for everything below it. It felt like it was just laying there, which is another reason that I think that this was just abandoned mid-mix without any any sort of final pass or production on it because he was just up there and it wasn't nestled in like a lot of power metal would be. Sure, the voice is usually near the top, but for a lot of power metal, it's kind of in there with the lead guitar and the rhythm guitars just to like make it all sound like a unified log of sound, and that adds to that power. So you want to make sure the vocals can be heard, but you want everything else to as well support it instead of being up there with it, if not getting lost underneath the voice. So this really felt like there was just some steps missing in the production, but other than that, I think the lyrics were fine. A lot of the references done. I think the Sonic sound effects, like I said, were really fun. I like having those in there. They might be a cheap way to get a sort of response out of a fan base, but also, like I said during the reaction, there is nothing wrong with that at all. Cheap doesn't necessarily mean bad, it just means it's easy. But also, like I said, I'm giving my real opinions here, and that's what they are. I like this song. In concept, this is very well done, and I'm bummed that it was scrapped. I think there was a lot of potential here. If it was a production factor that was holding them back and they were like, I don't like it, then you could have asked somebody to help you with that. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there. If you don't know how that genre is, you can research, you can listen to a bunch of power metal. It will help you. Hell, I'm sure even Rob would have been able to put in some advice to like how to balance that out a little bit more. There's factors to that, but it felt lacking in that field. That might have been part of why it didn't feel too right. And the other part might have been straight up the way that it was written with those skips in the choruses and verses. That just makes it feel weird. I would have said if you just made it straightforward, 4/4, no skipped beats, no changed rhythms, it would have felt way more standard, way more powerful, and it would have been consistent and strong from start to finish. And if it wasn't for those two things, this I would be so pissed. But I'm kind of in the I understand why it was abandoned because of those factors. Because if I was composing this myself and I couldn't figure out what felt weird and I didn't know what it was, and now I'm realizing in hindsight, I'd be like, and I'd be so done with it too. But there are definitely points when you're making music, out of the few songs I've made in my life, where you're like, okay, there's something wrong, but I've heard this so many times I can't figure out what it is and why I can't get it to that point that I want it to, that high I'm aiming for. So maybe that's what happened here. Maybe they just became deaf to all of their mistakes and they couldn't really figure out what that one factor is, and maybe other people have pointed it out since then. If it was any of the stuff I've mentioned and Ramon's watching this, there you go. Maybe pick this song back up. I think there's totally work here to be salvaged. You know, like I would not say scrap this and keep it scrapped. I would say take this again, take the project file, rework a little bit of it, put it out as like an additional song or a special version of the song at some later part in the game. Whatever happens, even if the game's done, save it for a sequel. Get it done. You should not scrap this fully, is what I'm saying. There's definitely something to be done with what's here, and I hope that something does get done. But I have been yapping a while, so I will call it here. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to request something else, by all means, drop in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if, like Exotic did, you want to guarantee that I listen to something, you can always go to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships, where you can force me to listen to something. It doesn't matter what it's from, who it's by, if it's good or bad, none of that matters. That's why it's a guarantee. But if you don't want to do any of that, and you just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!